Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suryaye Sat Chit Sukhasurupaya Swamine Tapaharine Om. Dear students, teachers and others, a very warm welcome to one and all. Today is a great day. The 12th of January, the birthday of Swami Vivekananda and the National Youth Day. To commemorate this day as the National Youth Day has been a great gesture that the government of India has done to the youths of this country. This year, Swamiji's birthday, as per the Indian almanac, was on the 8th January. But on this day, on January 12th, the people of India, the nation at large, come forward to pay homage to that great son of this soil, Swami Vivekananda, and celebrate his birthday knowing that his message, his life and legacy are of utmost importance, are of great relevance to the youths of this nation for all times. I am happy to be with you youngsters this morning. And this day reminds me some of the earliest Youth Day celebrations in Chennai, beginning way back in 1984. Then, after the birthday of Swamiji was declared as the National Youth Day, towards the end of 1984, probably in December, from 1985 to 89, I had the blessings of Swamiji to organize those wonderful Youth Day celebrations at the Marina Beach of the then well-known city, Madras. Today, being with you, the youths, I am reminded of the days of the youthful Vivekananda, when he, as Narendranath, was a growing adolescent. It is important on occasions like this to remember those youthful days of Swamiji in order to understand how could he mold himself to such a great personality. Looking way back to his childhood, as a boy, Narendranath's education began partly at home and then partly at the school. As he grew up, for most times it continued to be so. Whatever he studied at odd snatches of time in between his outdoor sporting, gymnastics and music, all of which he was very fond of, besides his love for books. Swamiji loved books immensely. Even when he went to college in 1880, as a young man of 17 years, his lifestyle did not change much. But by then, he was more like an intellectual. His sharp mind, wandering over every department of knowledge with an unusual interest of keen observation, he looked poised He bore an altogether different look, a look of a leader in making. Later, even when the seriousness of life came upon him around his 20s, Narendranath used to be busy, spending his whole day and even devoting hours at nights in his intellectual pursuit. This is something very remarkable about any youth of that age. While studying books with Swamiji, it was not a mere exercise to gather information or collecting facts. He was looking for all useful contents, ideas and ideals which could be put to practice in his day-to-day life. Whatever he studied, he was trying to live them in his life. At later times, Swamiji was very fond of saying, be authentic in life, live what you learn. And for him, besides understanding his subjects, his study had the purpose of knowing everything related to life. It was about understanding things in depth. It was understanding and evaluating their meaning. Evaluating all that contributed to the growth of this great world. Evaluating all that contributed to the growth of this nation. The growth of the society around, and his own individual growth. More keenly, he wanted to know what contributed to the centuries of development of India as a nation, what contributed to the development of its culture, of its people, and what contributed to keep its wonderful unification at large. To find the answers to such questions, he went to the books of history, culture, and the traditions of India. He read about anything and everything in those areas, all meaningful books that he could lay hands on. This again is very unique when we look at him as a growing youth. For we do not find that kind of an interest, to that kind of a learning in many students of these days. Today, the interest in general learning is almost vanishing. The interest in the intellectual pursuit is also seemingly diminishing. But look at that development aspect of Narendranath as a youth. What a contrast. Now let us look into Narendranath's specific mental makeup as a youth, which was to turn somewhere in later times the Narendranath of him into a Swami Vivekananda. We find that when he became matured, the genius of Narendranath got more and more attracted, more and more interested in his inner life. For certain, he was not a shy person, much less an introvert, but he was on search, on a look for something beyond his psychophysical existence, beyond his body and mind, beyond his intellect. And this search raised several questions unread in books. Above all, it raised the unique question of life's eternal problem, namely the goal of life. Or it can be otherwise said that he was rather engrossed with that question of the reality behind this life. He used to ask to himself then, what is the ultimate reality of life? And what is that unique goal that all are in search of? This aspect of the genius youthful mind, that of Swami Vivekananda, questioning the realities of life and trying to find the ultimate goal of life, has to be studied in order to understand how intrinsic has been his personality. Everyone knows that to each person there is a goal of life. It is more an individual aspiration of life. Everyone understands that the need of focusing on it, focusing on such a goal. And to that extent, all are aware that to each person, his goal is different from the others, and it is unique in itself. But think about that one goal of life, the eternal goal, which cannot be many, which cannot be different, but unique and same to all. And that is what the ancient educational system of India was concerned about, thought about. Kasminnu bhagavo vijñāte sarvamidam vijñātam bhavati. What is that one thing, knowing by which every other thing becomes known in the Upanishads? If we look at within, we would notice that we all pass through such a state of mind where we would encounter with face to face the eternal problem that Narendranath as a youth faced. We all are into that kind of an inquiry. Knowingly or unknowingly, we are all probing into that goal of life. But unfortunately or fortunately, there are not many who are prepared either squarely and seriously to ponder on or to search the answers for such a vital issue. Most people, after a certain amount of struggle, a certain amount of reasoning and self-argumentation on this question of eternal goal, meekly retire. And some people just do not even entertain such a question. They walk off and cross over to the other side of the world of all-consuming pleasures. Yet some others, on the other hand, struggle silently and live on. Live on as the life presents itself in circumstances. But surely and certainly one cannot escape from such an issue. An issue rising in the solitude of one's conscience. An issue related to one's goal of life. It will keep daunting. It will keep rising again and again in one's mind. Neither one can neglect it, nor can anyone sleep over it for ages. And those who sleep over it, of course, no doubt, will cross over their youthfulness, but will be daunted even when they are old. For an average youth, problems and questions that arising in one's conscience are not of great consequence. They are not of any importance unless they leave the seed of unhappiness. They leave the seed of sleeplessness unless they leave the seed of disillusion in the intellect. And that is what Narendranath met with in his life as a youth. No doubt. He also went through the boyish and so-called shallow skepticism of an average young man. Therefore, he unconsciously often rebelled against the very scheme of this universe, which made him at times even doubtful of the existence of God. But his innate nature, filled with artistic, poetic, and idealistic tendencies, which he developed from his childhood, helped him to overcome such situations. All the same, his intellect kept him away from all illusions. It did not dishearten him. His self-esteem helped him. And he knew for certain that one day the truth of life would emerge by itself. He believed beyond doubts that truth by itself cannot hide, that all have to stand and pay homage to truth when it comes forefront.